Okay, so in today's video we will be talking about, or I will be talking about,
envy sometimes.
Oh, I'm so puffed. Just need to have a drink of water.
Oh, I should have brought my drink of water.
So before we start the video, we technically are still in lockdown and we're going for a 1 hour bit of exercise for the day. So technically you don't have to wear a mask if you're jogging.
And it's PE for soccer. We're also doing this for PE for school, online school, and it says one of the things is kicking the ball. So
obviously if you're under 12 you don't have to wear a mask if you're jogging, hence me being puffed. I just
if
jogged.
you're jogging you need to have a mask on, but you don't have to wear it.
That's right. And you're allowed to drink and eat with a mask off. So technically I'm drinking some water, so this does not count as me doing the wrong thing. So we are talking about my labour story with this little girl. Okay, so my waters broke at 10 p.m. on, I'll always remember the date, the 17th of June, because that's the day I got my hair done. And I got my nails done, got everything done, and I was like, this would be perfect timing if I went into labour after all of this. Although I hopped into bed, I said to Sean, if we do go into labour, this would actually probably be the worst time now because we're so tired. So we started going to sleep and
your water's broke.
Yep, so I felt like this wet patch, this probably too much information, but I felt like this wet patch coming out, water break, and I said to Sean, there's something wet in my undies. So I stood up and this big gush of water just all came out, and I knew straight away that it was my waters from then on. And I got so excited. I said to Sean, yes, we're going into labour. First thing I did was had a shower, got ready, did my makeup. The bags were already at the front door. They had been since I was about 12 weeks pregnant. We were all packed and ready and organised.
Yeah.
And
we took a video of our labour bag before this video.
That's right, we did, didn't we, buddy?
Or baby bag.
And you've heard this story a million times, haven't you, Ken?
Yeah.
You've heard me talk about this to so many people.
Yeah, and when Mum was in labour, it's a funny story with the midwife and
Well, let me tell it, buddy.
I want to tell it.
You can tell it when we get up to that bit.
Fine.
So anyway, got all ready. I said to Sean, yes, we're in labour. I'll only call the hospital when I start to get contractions.
That means she gets hurt or something when it actually hurts.
That's right. It means I get a bit of pain in my belly, hey?
Which that's okay.
And so anyway, from 10 o'clock at night when my waters broke, literally the whole night, I didn't have any pain, was waiting, stayed up all night,
and
all
she called
dressed.
Nana a few times too.
All dressed and ready, called Nana, told Nana, and then I think it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, I phoned up the midwife and I just explained everything. I said, look, I'm feeling no pain, but my waters had broken at 10 p.m. And she said, look, come in. We have to tell you to come into the hospital when that happens. It's been about 10 hours since they broke, so being up there to be a high risk labour now. So anyway, dropped Cam off at school at 9 a.m, didn't we? Yep. Dropped him off at school.
And then Nana picked me up, and then I got like to sleep over like 5 nights or something.
Yeah, you got like a 5-night sleepover.
I loved it.
You loved it,
I got spoiled so much.
So lucky.
Yeah.
And then, dropped Cam off at school, went into the hospital. They sort of hooked me up onto these monitor type things, assessed the baby. Bit too much information, but they told me to put like a pad on, and I lost my mucus plug in the pad. So I lost my mucus plug in the pad, and the midwife looked at it and she said, yep, so everything's definitely getting started. She said go for long walks. She pretty much, after I'd been hooked up to the monitor, she pretty much said, look, go home, try and encourage even more things to get going, go for walks, do squats, pretty much do everything you can to get these contractions started. At that point I still had no pain, so I think it was about 2 p.m. We were in the hospital for quite a long time. Sent me home, and then so it was about 2 p.m. Came home. She did say at that point too, if I hadn't got contractions by the next morning, she said that she would book me in to be induced at about 10 o'clock the next morning. So we tried to do everything we could, walking, squats, everything, still no contractions. So I ended up being induced the next day at 10 o'clock. And mind you, prior to being in labour on my first midwife appointment, I was like, I need the epidural. I said, look, just letting you know, just let me say this part first, buddy. I was just like, I need the epidural. Second midwife appointment, I was like, just to let you know, I need the epidural. Literally epidural, 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 every midwife appointment. Last midwife appointment, hi, my name is epidural. Hang on, Cam, just wait, I'm explaining. So they pretty much knew from the get-go that I wanted the epidural. So as I was hooked up to get induced, I'd just let them know again, and so technically I was in labour from 5 p.m. the intense contraction started. I was hooked up at technically 10, but it took them a few hours to get the drip in and get everything started. So they technically say my labour started at 5 p.m. and at 6 p.m. I had the epidural. Do you want to say the story on this part?
Before the epidural, right? Before she had the epidural, so the midwife said that she went like, oh, so I'll be back in 5 minutes for the epidural. Then Mum just stares right at the clock, just looking at the time. And when it's 5 minutes or whatever.
He's heard me tell this story many times.
Yeah, listening to our conversations. The midwife comes back like 10 minutes later or something, and then Mum's like, you're late! I want the epidural now! And then the midwife was like, oh, I should have given it time. And probably soon after that, she finally gave Mum the epidural.
That's right. And then, so 4 hours later, Hazel was born. So she was a 3 hours technically,
9:01
after the epidural. She was born at 9:01 p.m. So all up, 4 hour labour. It was quite intense to anyone who's never had a baby before. I don't mean to scare you, but it feels like you're dying. So, but my pain tolerance is just not good at all. When I was in labour with you, Cam,
yeah,
I wanted the epidural from the get-go, but they didn't give it to me until I was 10 hours into it. So
lucky I'm not a girl.
That's why I made sure this time that everything was going to be given to me on time, that I didn't have to feel the pain for that long. But for that 1 hour of being in labour, I was in excruciating pain. But yeah, 4 hours after she was born, and everything was good from then on. Hey Cam, and you got to meet your sister.
Yeah, and I was really...
Should we show everybody her?
Sure, but first I want to say that when I first saw her, there was a big scar on her head, I think, and I was so scared of touching her head. I always wanted her beanie to be on because I didn't want to hurt her.